Hello, viewers. I'm SB,
And I'm Amabel.
and welcome back to Amabel Goes to Forex School Humankind Edition, where we're looking to crack this up sometime in the foreseeable future. I have no idea how long it's going to take for us to get to a place where we can actually make any kind of military gains on green, but I do think it's going to be necessary. Anyway, just as a reminder, the thing we're doing right now is we're hanging out in this era until we get our scientist star. 300 fame awaits. Right now we're on 6 turns of research, but we'll listen. It'll get done.
Yeah.
It'll get done. And in the meantime, we are scooping up points of interest, many of which have amounts of science attached to them. So to some degree, we're probably speeding up this research. Consul Brunhild has made an agreement proposal.
Yes, greetings. I hope you don't mind if I share.
Humanitarian aid. Signing empires agree to allow their population to migrate to either party's capital in case of famine. So, like, if we drop, if food drop, if the food income drops, then our points of population will bounce out to the other person's place instead of being deleted. I guess this is good. It's unlikely that it's going to happen to us, right?
Yeah.
So this is basically just we'll get population if she screws up her food situation.
I like you.
I feel like we got our food situation in hand.
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility of having a military alliance with Brunhild against Green?
I think that would be a useless thing to do until we can provide military, though.
Well, yeah. I don't mean now.
Well, then what?
I know that much.
Well, then who cares?
I'm trying to plan for the future. I'm not good at that.
We're barely on top of now.
Yeah.
All right, population continues to grow. Yeah, this is just we're just close enough that we'll be able to make it back to land. Okay, we're actually positive on money now too, which is an interesting change of pace. Positive on income, I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of our cogs to just banish more of the fog here, so we can afford to take a couple of turns of loss at sea penalty. And here comes another wonder. We're doing quite well on these.
Todaiji was the largest wood structure in the world for 1,200 years, more or less. That should impress anyone.
I don't know. You'd think so. Look at that. Very fancy. Okay, so, where are we at on Builder Star? We need 7 more districts. We probably can
Do that in the same time it takes to do the science.
in 3 cities. Maybe. We are trending towards 0. What's going on? We're having some problems in this city for some reason. I didn't
San
realize.
Lorenzo?
Yeah.
I mean, you just took it over last episode. Probably it's not super stable.
Well, but it's trending from 40. Like, it's at 41. If you look at the penalties here. Okay, we gotta push back on this to some degree. So, Commons Quarters will do some good work. Obviously, it gets a bonus from every adjacent normal type quarter. Over here we are at fine, and over here we are at fine. So yeah, it's just San Lorenzo that needs to get figured out. It is also worth noting that we are allowed to build another holy site, and a holy site is a pretty good chunk of stability. And also,
right.
Does the holy site exploit? Okay, the holy site exploits everything that you build on it. You build it on, so it's not a crazy thing to build on like a. Well, I guess we don't really have any interesting tiles, do we? And we don't really want to build it adjacent to any existing districts because we want next to an existing district to be a place where we could build a commons quarter. So I'm just going to build it like sort of
Okay.
out in the wilderness out here. And that is a shared goal and also a district, so we can promote.
Yeah.
We can put our other cities on getting that done.
So as we continue to make incremental progress here,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question because
Uh-huh.
I think we've been doing Forex School for hop and a skip now, and I think you're
It's an
doing an
interesting way
excellent
of measuring
job.
time.
Doing an excellent job teaching. How am I doing as a student?
That's a great question. I have no idea. You understand that the way you understand that the way we would test that is by having you play the game, right?
No,
So you want to put yourself in
no,
this position?
no, I don't.
Is
I
this a
don't.
question you want to be asking me?
No.
I think you would do well. I think you're very nervous about playing games in front of the camera and everything. And believe me, I get it. But I think you probably are more nervous than you need to be.
I mean, I have played Endless Legend.
With 5 commons quarters, sampling all the city's entertainments can easily lead to penury and perhaps divorce.
Yeah, that's pretty cute.
What does this guy think is happening in this city?
These quotes are so much. I mean, they're not. These bits of writing are so much better than like the really pale historical quotes. Like, I know I keep
But
comparing this to
but
Civ.
but every once in a while they say a funny thing and it's like, oh, that Mark Twain, what a scallywag. Sorry, that's meaner than it needed to be.
No, it's exactly as mean as it needs to be. Is the thing. So I have played a little bit of Endless Legend off camera. Yes, she helped me with some of it. And
Yeah.
just this type of game, I don't think I would be particularly skilled at playing. This might change as we move into the more overtly military focused stuff, where like knowledge of some military tactics and like military game concepts might be more uh, my jam.
Mm-hmm.
Here, there's just so much to do and to touch, and it's so hard for me to keep track of it all and to parse it all.
I see what you're saying.
And to a certain degree, for me, which I don't see this with you playing it, but with me, it takes on a directionless quality.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, your play does seem something that's very useful for me watching. Your play seems very directed. Like, you keep some goals in mind, you move towards them, you kind of figure out what you're going to do. Whereas I'm kind of like, okay, the game's not giving me a thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to decide, and I don't know what to. I don't know. I splash around.
I mean, that's not the worst way to approach things. Especially since, as we've discussed, in a lot of these games, you're not building for a particular goal from the beginning. You're just kind of like building the ability to create power, and then you, like 90% of the way, you pick an end condition. In the thriving
Yeah.
capital of Unug, a new hierarchy of power has taken shape as commerce and the commons grow in importance. Now is the time to make a choice over who may rise to the most influential positions in the empire, a seat on the small council. Do you want the lucrative steadiness of bloodlines or the inner strength of those who rise on their own merit? So this is coming to us, yeah, because we currently have a small council, we're able to these things grow out of each other in I think in really interesting ways. So we can go for a system of aristocracy. Superior bloodlines of the nobility can lead this empire to greatness, which pulls us way back toward the tradition part of the tree here, but gives +1 combat strength to our emblematic units. Or we can enact a republic system, which pulls us all the way toward the edge of order. It's worth noting we're already in this quintile, which is not all the way at the edge, and it gives +3 combat strength on militia, which is makes it harder for our cities to get conquered.
Yeah.
Neither one of these really does anything right now, unless we were desperately trying to move our progress axis backwards. But I think we have the extra influence. We may as well go ahead and do this. It'll be if we need it, it'll be good for that it's there.
How far
Yeah.
can you trust a leader whose primary concern is their family, not their people?
The answer is not far. Okay, and real quick here, just what are we missing anything here that I would like for us not to be missing? You know, personal rights at this point.
I suppose there are some things that are best done alone.
There are more things that are defined as religious districts as you continue to move up through the game. Various factions, what do you call it? Emblematic districts and stuff. And I think it is worth probably continuing to get better at those things. Also, going to continue building. We're allowed to have a couple more holy sites. You're allowed to have one holy site for each tenet your religion has.
Okay.
In addition to each wonder counting as an automatic holy site. So I'm just going to keep building holy sites in this city until its stability goes up above 0.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of districts. The thing is, the AI built a shit ton of districts. Yeah, they really went nuts with it down here. And so we're having to counterweight that just a little bit. All right, so we can choose a culture. Did you know? They think we've forgotten. We do not have actual open borders with green.
Yes, greetings. I hope you don't mind if I stare.
Could we?
You intrigue me.
3,900 gold. Holy hell. All right. Well, we're allowed to be in here because it's just it's not actually part of their empire yet. They're building the outpost. I'm very annoyed that they're going to get that for free because we just can't cross the ocean enough to stop them.
Yeah, you really got stuck.
You're teasing me, huh?
This is bad. This is bad. The AI one or the map builder absolutely just gave these two players a massive head start and then had one of them fold to the other. It's very, very difficult. I did play a game off camera. Just because we were playing and we stopped and I was like, now I have the itch in my fingers. Like I want to play a bunch more Humankind. So I went and played a game off camera. And it didn't work out quite the same way on the map and stuff. The Terra Nullius was a little bit more fairly positioned and stuff. But in that game as well, there was one player who shot out to an insane fame lead. Like what I might describe as a literally impossible fame lead. They were at 9K by the end of Era 2, by the time they had their Era 2 stars.
Jeez.
And there simply isn't 9K worth of fame to get. So I think there might, on this difficulty, there might be just some raw fame income being given to the other players. That might be part of what's going on. Because I don't think there's a way to see an accounting of another player's fame during the game, but I do think that that's a literally impossible value. So that might be part of what we're seeing here too. It's not just that green is doing that well, but that one of the difficulty modifiers is your opponents just get fame.
Yeah. So you mentioned getting the itch, and I know that of
3 more.
the Amplitude 4X games, this one's not necessarily your favorite. Is it growing on you at all as we are playing it together here?
Well, I mean, I specifically had the itch to play this game because when we were playing this game, I was like, I want to keep running those mechanics. Okay,
Yeah.
we're finally pulling the neutral point of this thing up above 0. Okay, let's just grab mounted warfare so we can get out of here.
Okay. So how are we doing with our districts?
We're going to complete another 2 this turn, which is going to leave us 1 short. The holy city of San Lorenzo is famous across the world. Every year, thousands of followers of the faith come to the city in their old age, hoping that if they die, they will be able to partake in funeral rites near to the stone rings. This practice has been condoned for many years, but space is becoming limited, and tensions between locals and outsiders grow more heated with every passing season. How should the incoming faithful be treated? So we can refuse. These lands belong to the inhabitants of San Lorenzo, not outsiders. which San Lorenzo would celebrate because they're a bunch of fucking assholes there, I guess. We can welcome these people. Locals will grumble, but the city will be richer for the influx. Locals should not grumble about a bunch of people coming from the outside world and wanting to spend their money here. Like, this is all upside for the locals. Plus 25 money per turn for 10 turns. It's pretty whatever. Or only those with ties to San Lorenzo will be allowed to remain, which will boost faith. Okay, so this has been a thing. This has been a horse of mine for a long time. It's something I've been very vocal about, and let me say it, and then I'll say the other half of it.
Okay.
I feel like the design of 4X games tends to portray. They tend to make a lot of assumptions about people being fucking absolute garbage monsters. It's always like, well, if you do this objectively morally horrible thing, your people will be happy because they love morally horrible things. You, the leading class, have to moderate their urge to be monsters. And they don't like it when you do that. So bonus happiness always comes from fuck foreign people and and I don't think that comports with history broadly. I think you can point to individual moments and say, look, that matches, and also point to individual moments and say, look, it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But I will say that the current direction of politics and behaviors in my country right now does make me think that maybe these games are going too easy on people.
I mean, I'll go one further. I think this kind of thing you're talking about is.
In any case, I'm doing this one. We're taking the money.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when people are horrible garbage monsters, and times when they're less so. And the problem is conservatism is a cancer.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely
on human nature and society. And if you look at
it does tremendous damage to the minds of those who are absorbed into it, and yeah.
And unfortunately, empires in particular, large polities, do have a strong conservative element historically.
Okay.
Which is bad.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think that's why you get the kind of garbage stuff. I thought it was interesting. They gave us a choice between like, do you want the noble blood of aristocrats, whatever the hell that is, or do you want like the best people? And like, I love how any time that you position a choice in one of these games or whatnot between like something that's a kind of, I wouldn't even say a modern, like the idea of a republic is not a modern thing by any means, but like the thing where the aristocrats get the best government is just absolutely on his face dog shit. Like there's nothing. It's like, yeah, no. Here's two choices. One objectively sucks ass, and one is like for decent human beings. And I kind of like, I guess, that the game presents that without like. I don't know. I like that it doesn't try to sweeten the pot too much. There's some mechanical sweetening, but they don't try to like massage the kind of dumb, outdated opinions to be something that they're not. I appreciate that they're doing that in this game, which I think they do this more than I've seen in the other historical 4Xs we've engaged with.
Okay. As leader of the current session, you must choose which civic to debate for the in the Congress of Human. Okay. I don't. Do I? So we're going to put a thing up for vote, and it's going to... At the vote's conclusion, empires will need to decide whether to embrace the result or pay the price to oppose it. So it's going to tend to drag the global consensus in the direction of whoever has the most voting power, which last we saw was us by a mile over both of them combined.
Yeah.
So what axis do we want to drag? I kind of don't... I guess we would like to drag +3 science on city or outpost per territories following your state religion. See, the thing is, like, mathematically, this works out really well for us because our whole continent is following our state religion. Pulling things this way is not good for us because we're, well, no, I guess pulling things good this way is probably... It's so hard to tell because I have no idea what Pink's research looks like.
Yeah.
At least half of the world's empires is really tough because Green probably has a lot of science. And the question is this going to be anything that's researched by Green and me is given to Pink for free, or anything that's researched by Green and Pink is given to me for free? The other players' positions are opaque enough that I don't know who is the one who's really realistically benefiting from this.
Yeah.
And obviously nobody's benefiting from this thing being in the middle. We do have a lot of research quarters, especially in San Lorenzo. So pulling this back to here is good. Yeah, I guess like Green is objectively getting more benefit from this position than we are because Green has so much more territory. So we would like to drag the social axis right if we can. Do any of these do that? Yeah, knowledge authorities could. So could founding myths? Wait. It looks like both of these move the thing in the same direction? That can't be right. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding how it's displaying the stuff here. Is it showing? No, hold on. Let me go to founding myths real quick in the normal civics display. Founding myths is divine mandate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does show no change on these bars, which is weird. I may not be understanding the UI correctly, is my concern. So each empire in turn will chair a civics voting session. This is funny. I assume they're using an automated system to attach the turn symbol every time the word turn appears in a text box. But this is not turn, the game term. This is turn in the English phrase in turn, like in the round. You know? The order is based on the amount of international sway. First session leader is the empire that unlocked the Congress. Okay. Yeah, so I don't... In theory, it would be good to do a thing that's going to pull them all to us. They don't seem to have... Nobody else has a position on literalism, which is interesting. I wonder... So if you pick something that nobody else has open yet, does it excuse them from having to vote, or does it... or does it force them into a position?
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, I guess we can try to find out.
Excited to participate in your first voting session as president. Does it come with a ceremonial gavel?
Okay, so we would want everybody in on compatibilism
Yeah.
if possible.
And you have much more votes than they do.
Yeah, well, we have all the leverage. Presumably, they've been using their leverage on each other, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get this tech that we want. We're going to finish one of the 3 districts that we would need, but we're gonna have 2 more districts that are going to be very close. And my hope is that we can buy out the little loose end of them.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And in fact, it was misreported, and we finished 2 of them anyway. So a new doctrine effect for economic is now okay. Minus 50% on resource extractors. Who cares? It looks to me like they didn't have to take a position because they don't have the thing open. It was important, I think, to learn that. I think it was reasonable. Yeah, and then we can purchase this and get the Builder Star. Okay, cool. Let's move on. And I think we want to do that probably before we pick anything else here. So,
All right.
they have made their calls already. We can, of course, culturally transcend and get plus 10% fame. I don't know. I don't know if you get a second copy of your unique trait. Probably not, right? So, Inca, probably a bad call because they're expansionist. It's going to be very unlikely that we're going to gain more than 1 region during this next era. So, we would not be getting the good stars here. Plus 50% road movement speed, plus 3 food on districts for each adjacent mountain. This mountain thing would be big. We have a lot of districts. We have that mountain canyon with the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of mountains in our territory. But overall, probably not a winner as far as fame goes. And their emblematic unit is just, kind of a defensive anti-cav. Not very exciting. The Maasai, minus 25% population consumption on all cities. That's just going to lead to a lot of extra people. They are agrarian, affinity focused. An emblematic unit that is range 2 gets bonus combat strength against damaged targets. That's pretty rad, actually. Range 2. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about the tech tree off the top of my head to tell where things are. This one doesn't even say what technology it's attached to. And their district is the Enkang, which gives plus 5 food per adjacent exploitation. And does not have to be connected to the rest of your stuff. So you just build it out in the middle of nowhere. That's fine, pretty whatever. The Maori, which are militarist, you get war canoes. Is a naval unit that replaces land units. It ignores penalties from deep water, so full travel across the ocean. After moving in battle, this unit receives bonus combat strength for defense. We get this at 3-masted ship, which we know is close.
Yeah.
Plus 30 stability per ongoing war. Minus 5 unit upkeep per ongoing war. And plus 1 combat strength per ongoing war. Not so exciting, really, in a game with relatively few players. Our number of ongoing wars is going to be 1 at most.
Yeah.
And this gives food. So it's a garrison that gives food and bonus combat strength for units standing in it. That's, whatever. The Swiss are diplomats. Leverage stars.
Okay.
Double army upkeep on any non-allied units that are inside my territory. Double leverage from units in demilitarized territories. 44 strength anti-cavalry. When provided to other empires through the arms deal agreement, this unit costs less to build and generates more income for its original empire. Right, Swiss mercenaries. That's I know enough about military history to get what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Seems like a fine unit. And the watchmakers, okay, that's interesting. A market quarter that adds 2 slots to the city for each adjacent quarter. 2 slots of that quarter's type. That's kind of cool. I don't know that diplomat's a good place to focus on stars. Like when I think about the
Yeah.
stars we're likely to get in this next era, we're pretty okay at science, and we're going to continue getting okayer at science. Honestly, agrarian stars might be reasonable, but we're definitely in the era where we're getting into the eras where the numbers are going to be huge. The things required to earn stars. So +1 money per population, just okay. I mean, that's a lot of money for us.
Yeah.
Their naval unit is increased movement speed when starting its turn in allied territory naval transport. So that would be enough to get us across the water at the very least. And they get the VOC warehouse. Do you have any idea what VOC would stand for here?
That's the Dutch East India Company.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Overlooked
there's
by
the British East
administrator's
India
office.
Company and the Dutch.
Okay. Overlooked by administrators' offices, the warehouse floor is stacked high with imports and is a riot of colors and smells. So it's a market quarter that just gets a bunch of extra money per adjacent harbor, basically. That's fine. That's like extremely whatever. I do wonder though, with stock wisdom and a decent market quarter, I wonder how easy it would be to get the merchant stars.
Yeah, might be a nice pivot.
Joseon +3 science on any tile that produces science. A 50 strength sea unit. The turtle ships, right? Fast lighter craft used for reconnaissance. Increased movement speed in battle and has bonus combat strength against adjacent targets. It is reliant on, I believe that's gunpowder, which we probably have some sources of, but we can't actually see them yet. And then the
Sewan. We're
Sewan.
going to do that, yeah.
The Sewan is a research quarter that gives influence and a little bit more science per. Actually, that might be the normal amount of science per adjacent research quarter. I think it just gives a little bit of influence. I mean, that seems fine. And technology is like research is the thing that we are going to be able to earn stars for. The Ming earning stars for influence generation. We did not get even close to the first influence star during this era, despite producing what I would describe as an absurd amount of influence, such that we were able to buy out all of the available wonders. So I do worry about the possibility of this. Lower cost of enacting and canceling civics, +10 influence per number of enacted civics would be kind of a lot extra. 45 combat strength, ranged weapon with 8 range. Damn. The targeted unit cannot move next turn. I mean, this is powerful. That is a really powerful military unit. The Grand Tea House gives +1 influence per districts in territory and +2 influence per adjacent district. So that's gonna be like fine. You get like theoretically 15 influence out of one of those, like if you really maxed it out. Building more districts. There's a point at which we are not going to be able to build 600 more districts. I am a little worried about taking a builder star at this point.
Yeah.
In part because we're just like kind of running out of room. But I guess we're about to settle a new territory, so that will help. We'll be able to put down a lot of districts there quickly, but it's not a very large territory. +2% interest per number of territories in your sphere of influence on the capital. So that's, I assume our influence is not really reaching across the ocean, but obviously everything on our home territory is in our sphere of influence. A 44 strength elephant gun. That seems fine. +1 faith for population, +1 industry per workers. So it's a religious maker's quarter that also gives 4 influence. I mean, that's a pretty good emblematic district. Definitely decent plus. The Ottomans are again expansionists, tough to satisfy. +3 combat strength on heavy weapons and -50% to the cost of heavy weapons is certainly interesting. It is a little weird that they do not have a heavy weapon as their emblematic unit, but 44 combat strength gunner Gunners fight at full combat strength even when defending against close combat attacks, which is nice, obviously. It makes it a lot easier to use your ranged units. The Poles are militarist with their winged hussars. When charging, the target does not retaliate. Wow. That's a powerful ability. So whenever they attack a target that they were not adjacent to before at the beginning of the combat turn, the target does not get to fight back. That's going to leave you in a position to do a lot of... to not take damage an awful lot during combat. And these guys have a really high, like 46 is a very impressive base combat strength. There's a garrison that gives influence and stability, +3 combat strength for units. Yeah. Protects neighboring tiles from being ransacked is kind of neat. I mean, that's interesting. If we think we're going to start spilling blood this era, the Poles might be a way to go.
Yeah, I mean,
Spanish are
that's
going to be
really
rough.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the question is like, when are we pivoting to, is it this era or the next era that we're going to pivot to?
Yeah, and
try to take out
unfortunately,
Green?
the answer has a lot to do with the makeup of Green's army, the position of Green's armies, whether we can find a good sort of like beachhead, like if there's one city that's in a place where it would be good to attack.
Yeah.
And right now, we are just short. We're like desperately short information. What we need is a share maps, but there's no way they're going to give it to us.
Greetings.
And I can't ask for it because we asked for something within the last 3 turns.
Can you ask for share maps from Purple?
Yeah, they probably have the same maps.
Your empire is an enigma.
It's true.
You intrigue me.
Okay.
Let's talk.
Good thinking,
You
Amabel.
have my attention.
Don't think it's over yet. What about the seabed and the stars?
Okay, and that got us a bunch of fame. So what we're looking at here is...
A cultural wonder. In my considered opinion, one of your competitors garnered a lot of fame building that monstrosity.
Yeah, there's shallow water all the way between their starting continent and the other continent. What the fuck? I would be winning too in that situation. Holy hell. All right, well, so important things to note. Green has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities.
Yeah.
In the east, their cities are quite far apart. It would not be easy for them to reinforce Onondaga. And I would say the same about Aksum, but we would want to attack Aksum from the east, so that would be a thing to do after. So this is I think where we would attack.
Okay.
In an ideal world. That's a little awkward because that's a lot of there's a lot of ocean to cross here. You know, we're a single point of movement away from being able to get to Texcoco. We definitely cannot do that with Onondaga. Texcoco is pretty far away from other stuff. We could attack here with like this as a sort of a staging ground.
Right.
Yeah, we can make a move on Texcoco and try to break in. Unfortunately, this is just map information. It's not live vision, so we don't get to know anything about armies. I'm assuming Green believes themselves to be much stronger. Yeah. They believe we are much less powerful than they are. And they're probably right. We have no standing army.
Now, the
big downside
Civ
of
vetoes.
having collapsed our military into our economy is that the fact that they think that we're more powerful than the fact that they believe themselves to be more powerful than us doesn't tell us anything, because if they have even a single military unit, that's true.
right.
They are agrarian with a 43 strength stealth gunner unit, which I hate.
Yeah, that's not.
But I think the other thing that's worth noting, sorry, I don't mean to do that, is that they are fully starred out. They're going to be using they're going to be attacking us with a 5th era emblematic unit.
Right.
The fact that they're a full era ahead of us at all times is going to make war challenging for sure.
Yeah, and they basically maintained almost a double
Yeah.
points on us. That map setup is some ludicrous shit, though. I don't feel that's fair at all.
It is, unfortunately, like the randomness, and especially with the randomness mostly happening in the dark, it's so hard to know when something like this is like, there was no counterplay available, right? Because how would we possibly know that this was occurring? And even if we did know this was occurring, what were we going to do about it? So we're playing from behind. We're playing significantly from behind.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have to figure out how that works.
I mean, isn't that always the way we play from behind and figure out how it works coming in from behind?
No, it's definitely not. All right, so the Spanish are expansionist, +3 combat strength on unsupplied units, which I don't, as a game term, I don't fully know the meaning of. Just like a unit that's not in your own territory, maybe?
Yeah.
So they got some conquistadors, generates additional money from winning battles, is a 43 strength gunner unit. Seems pretty whatever. A bunch of bonus faith that I don't think is actually super interesting for us. The Japanese are the Edo period, Japan. This is an aesthetic civilization, +1 influence per population. The Naginata samurai is a higher combat strength unit, unfortunately. Oh, with higher base movement speed, too. Note that does have 5 movement, which is unusual. But armies with Naginata samurai in them cannot retreat, which can mean just losing a whole army for no reason sometimes.
Yeah.
Religious districts to provide big influence for adjacent mountains. Obviously not terrible, but... and then finally the Venetians with their merchant society. +1 money per number of trade routes, +2 money per naval trade route, +1 influence per number of trade routes. We are not, I think, running a lot of trade right now. If I'm not... I would have to go look. And they get a market quarter that gives influence.
Yeah. So I guess the big question here is...
What is our trade situation right now? I mean, first of all... Okay, we don't even have resource trade open with purple. We do have we do with green. And we're buying some stuff from them. We could afford to buy more now that we have a little bit more income.
Mm-hmm.
That probably would be a good idea. All right. So we got to make a choice here. I am...
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could manage the Maasai. With the population consumption drop, we're going to see each of our cities produce a bunch of points of population pretty quickly. I don't think the Enkang is particularly good. And they're the only agrarian choice left, right? So I think it's like that, Joseon Dutch, maybe.
Okay. So definitely looking at a more...
It's a very
arena
impressive...
focus.
It's a very impressive ship. I assume it comes quite late in the era. But with 50 combat strength, like, it might be competitive against military stuff from the next era. And it has enough attack range that it might be useful for attacking attacking inland too. Like we might be able to use it to support bombardment style. So plus I do love science. I do love pushing
Yeah.
science.
You want to go
3
with that?
science per tile producing science is a little bit less exciting than a lot of the other bonuses because like you can't build your way into more of this.
Right.
I do think that's a shame. There wasn't another science focused. No, there wasn't. This would mean that we're probably not thinking about military anytime soon because, again, I am assuming that this is on quite a late research.
Maybe, but usually they tell you.
Usually they
telling
do.
you, yeah.
They sure
So-
don't here, though.
Could that mean that they're just?
No, it
it's not a
definitely does not
research
mean
requirement?
that. No.
Okay.
And obviously it requires gunpowder, which we don't have yet, but I'm hoping we will discover that we have some. I don't know. Do we money focus? Do we science focus? We're better set up for science focus.
I think science.
All right, we're kind of all over the place this playthrough. So now that we've chosen, does that put the emblematic unit on our research line? I guess it won't until we actually transfer over into the thing. Gunpowder warfare is available. Next up, we're going to put a turn of research into something that's on this side of the line. Okay, you were headed up here because there's stuff up here to take. Oh, right, that's a solid. Okay, well, this ship is just dead then. But I'll go out looking for stuff to loot. Oh, I am within range of that. Hooray! Okay, and then the cities. Let's see, we don't have a ton of river tiles here. A high furnace would actually be extremely valuable. We have a
Okay.
lot of makers' quarters in that city. Over here, stability is still solid. Yep, high furnace, incredibly valuable here as well. And I would assume, I mean, it's got to be good here too. Yeah, it's just like it's a lot of industry in all of our cities. Not a bad way to start the new era. Just really kicking industry into high gear. All right.
Geography, cartography, algebra, optics, astronomy. It's a time of discovery and exploration. But discoveries are not made solely by traders and adventurers. Those who explore with ships and caravans would go in circles without those who explore with pens and parchment. The Joseon era was certainly famous for its ships. I wonder if their scholars worked with brushes and parchment, however, rather than pens.
So we can see our many of our quarters updating in their looks. New styles of buildings around the main structures. Okay. Pink is feeling friendly toward us
Tell me about yourself.
and would love some scientific correspondence. Plus 10% science cost reduction on technologies that are researched by the other empire. Well, Pink is in Era 4. We probably get some benefit from this.
Most glorious. Yes.
My guess is we get some benefit from that. Oh, did my point of interest vanish? I guess it did. Maybe? Wow. Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, I looked it up on the wiki while I was the Humankind wiki, and it does not list a.
But they can't be.
Research
They can't be
prerequisite.
right. It's a combat strength 50 unit.
Nope, that's right, sweetheart.
It's better than everybody else's units, and it's free. Well, I mean, let's get gunpowder.
You do need to
Let's
have the
let's get the
you need to-
saltpeter. But the thing is, like, there are two kinds of military units for most of the cultures. There's sort of like early era and then late era, and you'll notice that this happens in a lot of the eras. It's like at the beginning of the era, there's things of 1 combat strength. Here we have 42 strength halberds, and then the military units that are available later in the era are that like +4 or 5.
Mhm.
And this is a unit that's a little bit better than the late half combat strengths. So it just seems very odd that it would be available from with only an early half tech, you know? So that's the pattern that I was reading and basing that idea off of. But I guess that is what it is. Very strange.
Researching gunpowder first, and
Yeah,
then
I
research
pulled-
three-masted ships.
Yeah, I want my unit.
Okay.
I didn't mean to right click with that. The guy selected. Yeah, we need to be able to control the oceans enough to get our guys across before it's going to be meaningful to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense because oceans are now Dracula.
Yes, all oceans are now Dracula's, is the thing about that. All right, so the new district. See, we could tuck one into the corner there and get a pretty decent amount of science per turn out of it. What is our current overall empire research rate? 757. So a boost of 22 is not as exciting as it once was, certainly. You'd like to be next to as many research quarters as possible, and obviously like building into the corner is a little bit of a bummer on that, because you're unlikely to get surrounded by a bunch more, but well, I mean, this district we could start building around here. In fact, I might do that immediately. This says +8, but it will get better. Yeah, and it'll also boost the effectiveness of the one we're currently building. And then San Lorenzo has a turn left on their thing. So one thing that is a little bit of a bummer here is that the scientist culture emblematic ability is the ability to set a city into collective minds mode, where all industry and money is converted directly into science. These like direct resource conversion abilities, I think, are generally pretty weak relative to the abilities that do something that you cannot otherwise do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the agrarian ability that lets you just steal population directly from neighboring cities, or yeah, I'm not super excited about that one, but I mean, it might be helpful in pushing through these first 2 techs that we want to get really fast. Like,
yeah.
get San Lorenzo's thing built here, and then maybe just put that into play. Although we should probably also, get some aqueducts going, because the stability of that city still needs some help. Okay, the wonders of this era are too expensive, I'm assuming. Yeah, 7,400. Okay. So we'll be able to claim one soon. Population continues to grow. I'm gonna try to get to my point of interest before. Look at that, they were absolutely going there to steal it. Okay, war between Pink and Green has ended without Pink being eliminated. That's interesting. And Pink has something to say.
Today. Sign this treaty.
They would like a proper alliance.
Intriguing. Let me see.
Well, it's gonna happen eventually, and
Most glorious. Yes.
who is to say that we'll be able to get them to agree to it later?
Very well, friend.
Now feels differently about you.
Seriously.
Bound.
Wow.
You feel like a long-lost sibling, Amabel. So they want a cultural entente. I think that's probably a good idea if we're planning on taking over green cities in places where Pink already has territory.
I like you. agree. This is unexpected.
And then am I allowed to offer... So, okay, because we are allied, you see the set of treaties is different.
Mm-hmm.
So we have cheap trade by default. Buyer benefits from discounted access to this empire's resources, but the seller still gains the same amount of money. We can set up a customs union where the buyer is acquitted from any non-essential fees when accessing the empire's resources without affecting the seller's money. We could go to scientific exchange here, which just gives each of us plus 5% science. Cultural exchange, which is just raw plus 5% influence. So we automatically have tactical cooperation, allowing us to regenerate and repair in each other's territory. We could extend that to allow us to do upgrades and share transport infrastructure, which is not super meaningful right now, but could become so later. At the very least, like roads, you know. And eventually, intelligence coalition, allowing us to see each other's stealth units, which is, I think, probably not hugely beneficial at the moment. But I am going to propose a scientific
You
exchange.
intrigue me. Let's talk.
Let's both push science as hard as we can
Might
here.
promote it myself. I feel magnificent.
Yep, and we did have a unit get destroyed due to being lost at sea. Okay. So San Lorenzo's going to build its aqueduct. I don't think we should fuck with that. You're here and you're staying here until we can move you across the water, which we're hoping to do soon. All right. Yep, they are buying access to all of our resources, which I do appreciate. We need to do the same. We need to have a look, at the very least. I don't love them running a land unit over here.
Yeah, I think
There's no way for us to tell them not to do that, unfortunately.
I don't think you're getting that. Is what I think's going to happen.
Well, then we'll have to take something else. Okay, so this city has 415 industry currently. This one's on 540. This one's on 684. So if we were to push this city into hardcore science mode, we would just about double our research output. See, this city has less industry, but it has a lot of money that makes up for it. So we're about 530 total here, 580 there, and 700 here. So I think actually, like, San Lorenzo's the least productive city, and I think it would be fine for this to be the collective mind's focus for 10 turns. We'll just, like I said, we'll try to push through these real quick.
Yeah.
With 5 research quarters, you're going to run out of questions to answer.
Okay. Resources continue to sell.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know what I want to do with you. I guess we want you over on this side because, in theory, at some point we're pushing that. I guess they want me to put something in the queue, even though it can't possibly matter. Is 12 science really the best I can do there? Yeah, it doesn't really improve on the science output of a normal science district all that much. Sure, I guess that's... Put that in the queue for when you have industry again. And then, as is often the case, I think we probably ought to push hard and get our emblematic districts out. So we might end up making a bunch of science down here. Oh yeah, okay, because that tile is producing science. It makes sense to build it down there, and then we can maybe build some research quarters around it. But that's a good little head start. And you should be able to build. See, this I don't think there's much of a chance that we build more research quarters out there. So perhaps we could... We don't really have a great spot. The way the terrain is shaped over here makes this actually kind of awkward. There's not a ton of places where we could build a lot around it. Most of these tiles only have 2 adjacencies available. Well, get them built, I guess. Oh, right, this is a different... I keep forgetting this city is made up of 3 pieces. Once again, it is the case over here that it doesn't super matter, I suppose. Yeah, all right. Okay, lots of emblematic districts, lots of bonus science. Let's get there. I keep pressing end turn and then going, oh right, and then I wanted to also buy resources. I gotta actually do that. Hey, you.
It's good to see you. No lie.
Cool. I really believe the way you put that. So we have 2 salt accesses right now. A 3rd salt access would actually be fine. That's a lot of maintenance fees. We do have sage as well, but a 3rd access would be... Geez, it is really expensive to buy resources from people who are on a different continent than you are. Who would have thought? And we have so much dye.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, sweetie. That's actually it's actually almost certainly not worth it. That really sucks. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. We're getting too little benefit for the extreme amount of money that it costs. Sorry, confirm. Yeah, it started at 2 instead of starting at 1. All right, well, now we know. Okay, we've got our selection made here. We're trying our level best to grow. This is fucking untenable. This is a nightmare. Let's take a quick look here. What are the values we need? So 7 technologies to the first scientist star. A mere 31,000 gold earned to get to the first money star.
mm-hmm.
2 regions for the expansionist star, so we would have to take a city. 14 districts, 55 population points born, merely just double the amount of influence you've made since start. This is what I'm talking about. They start to get pretty wild.
Which makes them already being on the end of it.
Yeah.
For green, really.
Yeah, quite concerning. Did they make 1,300 fame in the last turn?
Maybe, yeah.
All right. That's where we're going to call it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, we are going to construct some gunpowder ships. We are going to start scourging the seas. We are going to set up for an attempted something or other. I don't know how we're going to possibly make any military progress against green, but if we can get a city or 2 off of them, I think things can really turn around. That's got to be the plan. So come back next time to see how we try to implement it, and we'll see you then.